Welcome back to This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. With me today, I have Yemi Adamolekun, Executive Director, in-office enough, as well as Jide Ologun, a legal practitioner and national development advocate. Well, thank you very much for joining me. We've had two guests on the program. Ambassador Joe Keshi, who was commenting on the escalating crisis in the Middle East. Tomorrow, October 7, being the one-year anniversary of the attack on Israel by Hamas, which then became the catalyst for the crisis that we have witnessed in that region in the last 1 year. He also talked very briefly about President Tinubu's October 1 Independence Day address, and he was of the view that the speech was very flat, not inspirational in any sense. And he was quoting John F. Kennedy, before we quickly had to go and join the swearing in of local government chairmen in Rivers State. And then we had Chief Marcelo Keke, an economist, former chief economist, at one of the tier 1 banks in Nigeria, who now runs his own, consultancy, financial consultancy, and economic analysis, outfit, commenting on recent fiscal policies introduced by the Tinubu government, including the removal of VAT from about 63 items, majorly to achieve growth and clean energy, 2, withholding tax to be deducted at source with regard to capital gains tax, personal companies income tax, petroleum profit tax, and all of that, just to generate revenue. And then also incentives and concessions given in terms of reliefs to companies operating in the upstream and the downstream sector in the oil and gas sector. We also talked about the decision of the federal government to now sell crude oil to local refineries, including Dangote refinery in Naira, with the expectation that the products will also be sold in Naira, to Nigerians. And finally, he gave an overview of the Nigerian economy in the context of some of the statements made by President Tinubu in his October 1 address. And he was saying, look, if you look at the aggregates, the indicators, the economy does not seem to be doing well. Even if they say inflation rate has gone down, well, what has gone down in terms of the reality that Nigerians face? Let me start with you, Mr. Ologun.
Thank you, Doctor. Let me start from the speech of the president. And he spoke so much on issues that are bothering Nigerians. And I acknowledge the fact that he admitted that there are challenges in the land and that he is hearing the complaints of Nigerians. But talking about the interventions, I think we should move to what the sage said, the action speaks louder than voice. Because when you talk about the VAT, to many Nigerians, those are theoretical issues. I mean, many Nigerians expected that when the president came out to say subsidy was gone, that was going to make life more meaningful for the majority of the citizens and, of course, bring down the pump price of petroleum somewhere along the line. But if you look at where we are today, it's a different ball game. That price keeps skyrocketing. And that is where, for instance, I like the action he has taken. That, okay, don't sell crude oil to Dangote in dollars. Let's reduce the pressure on dollars. Said to him in Naira and some other stakeholders also. So we expect that going forward, that will positively impact on the economy. But having said that, let's look at other areas. For instance, the CBN saying the interest rate is about 27.5%. In Switzerland, the interest rate as we speak, as of September 2024, is about 1.25%. So you need to look at the cost of doing business that will help all your policies to synchronize into delivering enhanced fortunes to the people, because that is the simple definition of prosperity. And talking about we can talk about the River State election at this point. I want to cast my mind back to the fact that River State has been a hotbed for long. I remember in 2013 when Amechi sowed that seed of embattling the president then, Goodluck Jonathan, and he was the arrowhead of the new PDP. And of course, he eventually joined APC. And the same seed he sowed, Wike nurtured the tree and paid him back with the same coin. And we can see now in Rivers State that Fubara is also rising up to say, hey, Wike, you may be in Abuja. I think I'm in charge in Rivers State. And again, let's talk about the sensitive position of PDP as a party, for instance. Wike himself, people may not even be able to say where he is right now, whether it's PDP or APC. And Fubara also has gone to team up with Action People's Party, APP, sweeping 22 out of the 23 local government areas, and he's gone ahead to swear them in. So you see this hybrid political romance going on in Rivers State. But we just hope that at the end of the day, all this will translate to security and good welfare for the citizens. And then because basically, if you look at the global environment, what the Sustainable Development Goals is aimed at is zero tolerance for poverty, for hunger, and to make the world a better place for people to live. So we are monitoring to see the next line of action for the government in response to the hardship we have in the country right now. But for me, I think the best bet is to generate common wealth for common good, because taxes are generated in Nigeria, but for what purpose?
I thought you were going to talk about the Middle East.
The Middle East, yes, talking about Israel, Israel has taken it too far by some perception. But I studied the rule of Israel, and the rule is simple, and it's called the simple rule that you hurt us, we hurt you. And of course, when Hamas arose on the 7th of October 2023 to carry out that unprovoked attack, I think the leadership of Hamas would have thought of what an elder said, that it's better to measure 10 times and cut once than to measure once and cut 10 times. And right now, Israel, in fact, I was listening to Netanyahu, and he was declaring that with or without the support of the Western powers, that they are cut out to win. But right now, we have many casualties. People have died against the rules of engagement in these battles. And I also monitored the comments on that even if Israel wins, let's assume Israel wins, they will regroup. So where is the peace future that the world is aiming at? But right now, the United Nations appears to be, not so influential in activating the ceasefire that some may desire. But then, Israel remains a very strong force in the world in terms of military prowess and showing their perceived enemies that we are actually in charge. So we can only hope that somewhere along the line, Israel will try and reflect and decide. It's okay, let's have a ceasefire. But on the other side of Lebanon and Hezbollah, we have the Iranian forces also that are supporting them. So right now, diplomatic engagement may help, but that appears also to be on a slippery ground. So we wish the Middle East the best right now. And I also listened to the comment on whether we have a third world coming. And I love the question that the ambassador threw on the table, that who will fight the war, the third world. So right now, we hope that somehow the Middle East will find a way of understanding each other.
Okay, Yemi, are you happy that VAT has been removed from 63 items, and that, people who patronize electric vehicles, LNG products, CNG products will not have to pay VAT, including steel pipes, electrical wiring, cables, that will promote green energy, in addition to the other political issues. But maybe you want to start with President Tinubu's October 1 address. What do you think of it?
I mean, he's not the most charismatic of speakers, so I guess it's not that one is looking for charisma from him. But I think one would look for words that seek to carry Nigerians along on a journey, that this is what is happening and this is where we're going. And as Mr. Ologun said, it wasn't a speech that did that. And I think one of the things that then obviously always happens when you have contentious points in a speech, they then tend to take on a life in terms of the focal point of the speech. I mean, the Cable did a fact check on the numbers, and I'll point to two of them. One was about foreign direct investment, and he said that we had gotten 30 billion since they came into office. But apparently one of his ministers, the Minister of Trade, said they had gotten commitments of 30 billion within 5 to 8 years. But what has come in based on data from NBS is about 6.14 billion. Now, for me, I think that's quite significant, not just in the fact that there was an error, but the office of the president has the whole gamut of the civil service and his ministers at his beck and call. And so when you have people in his office who are busy picking fights on Twitter rather than ensuring that their principal statements is devoid of errors. And I think for me, it speaks to a larger issue of taking Nigerians seriously enough to ensure that the president's Independence Day address is fact-checked appropriately, it's communicating appropriately. The second one that I thought was actually major, that we need to be mindful of as Nigerians, is the fact that he said that his administration has cleared the Ways and Means debt of over 30 trillion naira. But what they basically did is spread it out over 40 years to pay it off, which means long after he's gone as president, and I mean, well, if you use lifespan, gone from the earth, we will still be paying the debt that we've incurred through the Ways and Means that he met in office. Again, not something he did, but something his party is very much responsible for. But I will give, at least, let's not just talk about the ones that were wrong. The $7 billion in foreign exchange backlog has been cleared. He stated that correctly. But I think for me, those errors, as significant as they are in terms of investment and our debt profile, the fact that those weren't fact-checked speaks to, in my view, larger issues. But another point that another journalist made that I thought was interesting was that on October 1, we celebrated Nigeria's independence from the British. On October 2nd, our president announces that he's going to Britain for holiday. And I just thought, the way he framed it, I mean, when someone says they're going to Britain for holiday, working leave, yeah. But when he framed it that way, I said, And that, for me, was just also another thing about optics. We don't do well, Nigerian politicians don't do well with optics. France will have been a better place to go on October 2nd. You can now go to England after. But just for optics, France will have been a better place to go.
France.
We did not get independence from France.
So, he's been going to France even before he was sworn into office.
So at least we can continue that one. And then maybe a week after, then say the president...
He's entitled to his annual leave.
Of course he is. That's why, did I now say he shouldn't go on leave? I said go on leave to France.
In fact, I was facilitating in an HR training, and I advised everyone there, great time to go on leave. Your president has gone on leave.
I'm not saying you shouldn't.
Well, it's freedom of choice.
I'm not saying he should. I'm just saying the optics is very interesting. That's all the point I'm making, and I've made the point. Then on Rivers, I think Rivers is just really quite a microcosm of Nigeria, where you have two warring parties, and the crux of their war is not about Nigeria, or Rivers in this case. It's not about what's in the interest of the people. It's about their personal interests. And so you layer personal politics and party politics that has no head or tail. And the fact that a former governor, I mean, this whole godfather, godson dynamic that keeps showing up. I mean, I give a shout out to Ekiti. Ekiti continues to model, at least to date, how a godfather, quote unquote, and a godson, quote unquote, can have a civil relationship. Ekiti is not up in arms because Dr. Yemi is trying to determine what Biodun Yebanji does, and they're constantly in the paper talking. They're not. They're actually constantly in the papers when they do show up together on the same side. And so Rivers, the dynamic of Rivers State, this is a Fubara that served in Wike's administration. Wike, for what we're seeing, wants to control what Fubara is doing, and Fubara is not having any of it. Wike, a PDP leader, quote unquote, is serving in a APC administration and using sort of what he's able to do with that, in a sense, federal might, as they call it, to influence what shapes up at the state level. And Fubara is deciding that he doesn't want to do that. Now, both parties, in my view, are wrong, because the people of Rivers is not their focus. They're all fighting by proxy, their own personal agendas. And then you have a judiciary, wonderful judiciary, that should literally be able to set the parties right by just following the law. But no, as we've seen, one party will shop in one jurisdiction for a judgment, another party will go to another jurisdiction and shop for another judgment, contradicting themselves. I think it was former President Jonathan that really just laid out the point in a tweet that he put out, just talking about, the same issues, political parties, the judiciary, the judiciary in following rule of law, security agencies. Now we have had elections. APP, Fubara's proxy party, has gotten 22 of the local government. Were there challenges with the local government elections? Certainly. There were some areas that there were no materials at all, so people did not get to vote. Some areas where voting stopped at 11 or 12 noon. And we got this, the organization I work for supported observation in Rivers. But he is gone ahead. Election has become the fastest swearing in of elected officials we've seen in Nigeria in quite a while. He's gone ahead to swear them in, which is happening about this time. And I'm sure there will be court cases. And then at the point is, where does this end? Where do people get on with the business of governance so that the people in Rivers can actually hold their local government chairman accountable? But I will say one good thing as I end. I am of the opinion that the Supreme Court amended the Constitution in saying that they would give local governments money directly. However, I do support the Supreme Court's sort of being legalistic, I guess, if I want to say, or intentional about saying that the Constitution does say we must have constitutionally elected local government chairmen. And if you don't have them, then you will not get funding that should be allocated to you. And we've seen the immediate impact of that, because from that July 11 judgment, I believe we've had at least 10... July 11, yes. We've had at least 10 local government elections happen in this country, because governors are now determined that they must get those resources. Yesterday, we had both Akwa Ibom and Rivers. I don't even know the outcome of Akwa Ibom's, but I think that's one good thing about the fact that there's rush to have local government elections so that people can benefit from the role of the local government. Yeah,
okay. The section of the Constitution you're referring to is Section 7, Sub 1, which says that local councils shall be, democratically elected. And that was what Governor Fubara was quoting when he said he will go ahead.
Despite
the objections by a faction of the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressives Congress. But we're hoping that we're going to have someone from Rivers State, before we close this program, who will speak on the latest developments in Rivers State. But Yemi, I thought maybe we would talk about Israel too.
Just to quickly add to that. So the Supreme Court's judgment on July 11th wasn't novel because, one, it's in the Constitution, so it should be obeyed, but our governors have consistently not obeyed it, despite several judgments that they should. But what then made it different this time around was it was tied to money. So the fact that the Supreme Court now said if you don't have it, you will not get money. Before, it was...
Which was joint account between the state and the local government.
No, but it was never binding. No, but with that way, it's not even direct. This is not even direct. If you didn't have a democratically elected chairman before, the money to joint state accounts still happen.
Because the Supreme Court did not want to touch that provision of the Constitution directly. So
which one?
It came up, this issue of joint account, because it's been constitutional. That, okay, if you don't have, because what some of the governors were doing was to just have caretakers run.
No, I
Some didn't
understand
even
that.
have officers.
But the argument is that that section, under Section 164, still has to be amended.
Exactly.
You know, but the governors have been resisting the idea
But some will
removing
argue, some
state
jurists will
joint
argue
local
that the
government
moment the
accounts.
court pronounces on issues like this, it becomes a common law, you know, particularly when Supreme Court is the highest court in the land. But by virtue of Section 4 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, the National Assembly is expected to make laws for the peace, orderliness, and good governance in Nigeria. So if it's of importance to them, I move in that direction, and then we have to amend it.
But the point I made ab initio was that the Supreme Court, which is not in its powers, amended the Constitution. That's all I'm saying.
They just made a pronouncement.
So they amended the Constitution.
That prompted
The Supreme Court interpreted.
exactly interpreted.
Section 7
That's
sub
your
1.
interpretation. My interpretation.
no,
which
that's
other
a literal-
No,
It
which
is
other
the mandate of the
but
National
other
Assembly to
I'm not
amend
Nope.
the
Other
Constitution.
lawyers, I'm not a lawyer, but I will say that all other lawyers do agree with me that in that action, they've amended, by proxy amended the
The
Constitution.
job of the Supreme Court is to interpret
Interpret
the
the
law
law.
as it is.
I'm not disputing. I'm just saying in this particular matter, they amended the Constitution.
Anyway, there are all kinds of lawyers who will speak from different angles.
That's why we have the judiciary giving conflicting judgments.
Anyway,
So are you sustaining the objection or you are not?
anyway, let's move on. You know, before we get to speak to them in Port Harcourt, River State. A federal high court in Abuja has barred the Directorate of Road Traffic Services, also known as vehicle inspection officers, from stopping, impounding, or fining motorists over alleged road violations. The ruling, delivered by Justice Evelyn Maha, followed a lawsuit filed by human rights lawyer Abubakar Marshall, who is a counsel in the chambers of Falano and Falano SAN. The court declared that the VIO and its officials lacked the legal authority to confiscate vehicles or impose fines. Justice Maha also issued a perpetual injunction protecting Nigerians' rights to freedom of movement, property, ownership, and the presumption of innocence, labeling VIO's actions as unlawful and oppressive. And if I may add, this is not the first time this is happening. In 2021, the Court of Appeal, Asaba Division,
Exactly.
I think the Court of Justice Joseph Ekanem, issued the same ruling. But these VIOs, they are all over the road. They find people, they confiscate motorcycles, they even say they have the authority to destroy motorcycles. Okay, if the VIOs didn't listen to anybody in 2021, first, it was also a concerned citizen who took the case to the High Court in Delta State, and then the matter went to the Court of Appeal, Asaba Division. But you see these VIOs in their shiny, white shirts, but I don't think that their hearts are as clean as the shirts that they wear, because they terrorize people, they intimidate people. In fact, Justice Maha was saying that they don't have the right, to be violent towards motorists. I don't know whether you have had any encounter with them. They ask for everything from your driver's license to your vehicle chassis number, and the court is saying they have no such rights. How can we have an agency of government that constitutes itself into a nuisance on the streets of Nigeria? Yemi?
But, we can have an agency of government that does that. We don't have just one, let me put it. So this is not just consider themselves as a nuisance, period. This is not about the streets of Nigeria. But we have them because there are no consequences. As you rightly said, and what you just said is the classic of that. If a court, so this is a federal high court. Again, this lawyering that we're doing today, again, I'm not a lawyer. But I do understand that an appeal court is higher than a high court. Is that correct, Mr. Ologun?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So if an appeal court has given a judgment that VIO disobeyed, why are we excited about a high court judgment? I guess my question is to you as lawyers, what has changed now?
The Court of Appeal order in Asaba Division was not obeyed. Okay, this is the High Court, reiterating the same court in Abuja, in Federal High Court. You just follow precedents and say the Court of Appeal has said this. Okay, this is the way the law is. But who will listen? Who will obey the law? Even the police. They are saying they are obeying the law by not providing security in Rivers State.
Election.
But the constitutional
it's
function
very
of the police is to ensure, security and protection of the people.
Exactly.
So
I believe
don't
all
understand.
these are captured by the provision of Section 15, subsection 5
Yes.
of the Nigerian Constitution that says the state shall abolish corrupt practices and abuse of office. And it is the responsibility of the executive, by virtue of Section 5 of our Constitution, to execute the law. So if the body language of the executive is that you are out there to implement the laws, but be as civil as possible and not turning it to a money-making venture, I think we'll be going so. Because what I've discovered is that, fine, there are many lawbreakers. I have argued that if road safety has anything to do in Lagos State, about 45% of the vehicles on Lagos roads should be in a junkyard.
Exactly.
And that is the truth. So, and that is what gives sometimes these officials the impetus to operate the way they operate. But when you have Nigerians who are not so much in a hurry and are out to defend their fundamental human rights, they go to court. But the question Dr. asks is sacrosanct, that even when courts pronounce on these matters, do they obey? Because there are no consequences. But my concern, because in public relations, we have this 1978 Mexican statement that says it is the art and social science of monitoring trends and predicting their consequences and recommending what should be done. I recommend to the government that please find a way of ensuring compliance with court decisions and fine-tune the implementation of laws. Otherwise, citizens may become so unruly that they start attacking these officials who may be unruly too. I've seen instances around Agidingbi in Ikeja where motorists attacked these last-mile officials viciously. In a particular case, I had to go there to introduce myself and to intervene. In another situation, this guy drove across the median. He was ready to hit the officer. So, and I think we should come to the point where the law is for the sake of the law and not create the impression that it's all about impounding vehicles, collecting, fines that are unreasonable. And again, I'm setting an agenda right now. If road safety is so important to us, why should these small buses not respect the traffic laws? Why should the tricycles not respect the traffic laws? So law has this concept of universality. If we have laws, let the laws apply, and let those who implement the laws also be law-abiding the way they engage.
Well, let's be very clear, Mr. Ologun. I think it's not a function of let the laws apply. There was a time in Lagos State under Babatunde Rajifashola where people obeyed because there were consequences. So, and I think it's not just about the laws and that. It's, again, back to the point from VIU to FRC.
Because Fashola was determined to let the rule of law have its way.
That it worked. Now, and a slight digression that I forgot, sorry, on the president's statement when he talked about national honors. And Senator Akpabio was giving GCON the House.
We have that topic. We'll get to it.
Okay.
But let's take a short break now. We take this break, and when we return, the program will continue. Thank you for staying with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. We've been covering the swearing-in ceremony for the newly elected 22 local government chairmen in Rivers State. And now we're back to the studio. Right now, we talk about the fact that President Bola Tinubu has upgraded the national honor previously conferred on Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, initially awarded the Commander of the Federal Republic, CFR, during Nigeria's 64th independence celebrations. Abbas will now receive the Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger, GCON title, which is the nation's second highest honor. The change follows criticism from the House of Representatives, which felt the CFR title was not befitting of the Speaker's position. The formal decoration ceremony for Abbas, along with other top officials, will be held at a later date. Well, there's a story there. I think it was Honorable Philip Agbese who moved the motion and said that the Nigerian government has for too long been discriminating against members of the House of Representatives, and that the House of Reps is a co-equal body with the Senate of the Federal Republic, and that in fact the Speaker of the House of Representatives is superior to the Chief Justice of Nigeria, and that the CJN should not be given GCUN, and Abbas will be given a CFR. Well, over 200 members of the House concurred, and the president almost promptly said, okay, Abbas wants GCUN, now he has GCUN. Well, what that GCUN does to anybody's mentality remains to be seen, because the average Nigerian expects that the primary duty of lawmakers is not the titles with which they are decorated, it is the work that they do in terms of their responsibilities under Section 4 of the 1999 Constitution. But, Abbas says he wants GCUN. Philip Agbese says he wants GCUN. They are even asking questions in the House of Reps. Why should the Senate President be the chairman of the National Assembly? Well, these are the kind of lawmakers we have, fighting over privileges and entitlements rather than engaging us with good lawmaking for good order of Nigeria. Yemi Adamolekun. Your lawmakers.
Your lawmakers. I mean, I think you said the intro quite well around what is priority. And I think also the president, in my view, would also be, I mean, I can not say to blame because the pattern has been on for quite a while. It's a national honor. It's to honor people. I was trying to read, I was looking for how to frame the framing of people it's meant to recognize, people who've sacrificed for the nation, national development. I'm sorry, the fact that you're a Senate president shouldn't automatically qualify you for the honor, especially ab initio. If after your 4 years, and maybe that's the last thing the president does in the preceding year before the end of your tenure, we can say based on what you've done over the last 3 years, you've worked for the country, you've done X, Y, Z. But when, in a sense, we've turned it into a party pack, you get one, as you rightly said, you get an honor, you get an honor, everybody gets an honor. It's really trivialized what it means. And then it's not surprising when certain distinguished Nigerians choose to decline when they're given the honor, because for them, it's neither here nor there. Thankfully, we have another honor in the country called the Nigerian National Merit Award that is based on merit. It's in the academic community, but it's actually based on your contributions to academia, and there's a rigorous process. There are years where nobody's given the honor because they haven't met the criteria. But the national honor, we've basically turned to a party pack because everybody has one. So, hey, it is what it is.
Okay, Mr. Ologun.
Let me start by saying it's good the president had to retract to ensure that GCUN was given to the Speaker of the House of Reps. And I'm just driving an advocacy that the same zeal that was prompted in seeking the appropriate GCUN in the arguments of the House of Reps member should be directed to let the president know that the most recent minimum wage of 70,000 naira is no longer capable to meet what we have in Section 16, subsection 2D of the Nigerian Constitution that says that they are entitled to reasonable living minimum wage. So if that zeal is expressed towards making the majority of Nigerians also get what they deserve, why not? A wise businessman said, in life, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. So let your impact be felt in that sector of our national life. And like Dr. Abachi asked, the honor, you get to enjoy it when you get to the VIP lounge and some special locations. And Nigeria is a place where people cherish titles. But by and large, please, we want to appeal especially that the senators, the House of Reps member, and the stakeholders should please look at how to enhance the welfare of citizens in this country. So while they are riding around with their GCUN, Nigerians can also be happy and rejoice in their land. And by the way, that is the main essence of having them represent their different constituencies in the National Assembly. So I congratulate them ahead of when the title will be effectively, and placed on them to enjoy.
Okay, on that note, let's just take another short break while we're trying to establish contact with our crew in Port Harcourt at the Government House, where the newly elected local government chairman have just been sworn in. We take this very short break and then try to establish connection with them, and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. The Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission, RISEC, has declared the Action People's Party, APP, the winner of 22 chairmanship seats, following a controversial local government election held on Saturday. The election proceeded despite opposition from the People's Democratic Party, the All Progressives Congress, APC, and a federal high court ruling, which prompted the police to refuse security for the exercise. Justice Adolphus Enebeli, the chief election officer, announced the results in Port Harcourt. Arise correspondent Andy Omano covered the polls and is on the ground there in Port Harcourt. And we're now being joined by Andy Omano from Port Harcourt, Rivers State, who has witnessed the swearing in of newly elected local government chairman today at the Government House. Hello, Andy Omano. Hello.
APP, 51, 52, APP, 53, 54, 6, LP, 7, APC, 1.
Vote counting process in one of the many wards monitored during the Rivers State Council poll on Saturday. A total of 9 local government areas were monitored by this Arise crew. They include Port Harcourt City, Obiakpo, Emoha, Eleme, Tai, Kokana, Kana, Obigbo, and Opobo Koro. The process was tension-soaked, not because men of the Nigerian police did not provide security, but the controversies that heralded it. This research presiding officer and some of the other voters assessed the conduct.
The election was peaceful, conducted peacefully. And we have both for councillorship and chairmanship, and it went beautifully.
The election started as early as 8 o'clock, very peaceful. As you can see from outside, so many people came out to vote. We were voting till the police came and said we should leave, but the people refused to go. They stayed and we finished and counted the results.
This councillorship candidate of the Emeka Beke faction of APC expressed some reservations. There were also those who received wrong electoral materials and so couldn't exercise their franchise.
Well, the conduct of the election process was going smoothly, not until we went to carry the material because of the security situation. Then by getting to there, as we were packing the material, we discovered that from unit 31 to unit 40 was excluded. We did not find it, so we complained. They said because of the security situation, maybe it has fall out of transit.
Our material is not complete here, and they gave us raw material. We are unit 19, and they gave us unit 41. So we are still waiting for them to bring our materials.
Our polling unit, we want them to bring the right distance for us so that we can start the work.
Many complained about the alleged disruption of the voting exercise by men of the Nigerian police in some wards visited.
For me, the conduct is okay, but the police have spoiled the election by asking them to remove the polling unit. Even me, as an aspirant, has not voted. So, the police is spoiling the whole thing. It's not the RISEC. RISEC have done their own, and it's perfect. But I don't know why police will ask the RISEC to shut all the town halls where are all the polling units. I don't know the reason for that, because there was no problem.
I don't really know, because they are meant to secure the lives and the properties of the people.
We're now being joined finally by our Rice correspondent Andy Omano. Andy Omano, good to have you on This Day Live. Well, you've been at the government house this afternoon to witness the swearing in of the newly elected local government chairman in Rivers State. Tell us, what is the mood like in government house? Who is there? And what has the process been like? And why the haste? Election yesterday, swearing in today. They couldn't even wait till tomorrow. Do you have an idea why the swearing in has to be rushed quickly?
Okay, Dr. Abati, thank you so much. Good evening. Swearing in has to come this fast. If you are privy with the brand of politics played in Nigeria, especially Rivers State, and what has transpired in the last couple of weeks, you would know that the governor may have chosen, you may see that the governor may have chosen to run this way because time is of the essence. As I speak with you now, there is a convivial atmosphere in Government House here in Port Harcourt. One striking thing was the fact that the chairman of PDP elected governors, that's the governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, was here. And from the sideline, he did told everybody who cares to listen that he's here in solidarity with one of their own, that is Governor Sim Fubara. Then other elders of Rivers State are here. They were fully represented. We have Dr. Abiye Sekibo. We have a couple of them who came in to be part of this epoch-making occasion according to the introduction of the MC of the day. And so it needed to be rushed because the political situation here is different. Probably the governor chose to swear in these elected local government chairmen today so that by tomorrow morning, the 7th day of October, they will hit the ground running, as politicians will always like to use that expression. But one or two persons are saying there's likely going to be a hurdle again because as we speak, Dr. Abati, if you can still hear me, the policemen are still occupying the 23 entrances into the local government areas here in Port Harcourt, in Rivers State, the secretariats. And so what is going to happen? But we cannot foretell tomorrow. When tomorrow comes, we'll be able to tell how that pendulum will swing. But the major fact today is the fact that all 23 local government chairmen elected yesterday have been sworn in. 22 of them are of the All Progressive, All People's Party, that is the APP. Just one from Eshe local government area was the one that was declared today, and that particular local government area went to the Action Alliance, AA, and the person who won that was Uzodima Wafo, Dr. Abati.
Okay, out of 23 local governments, they managed to spare one for Action Alliance, and the proxy party took 22. Yes, but okay, quickly, how is the victory party going? Is there a lot of dancing and drumming? Are there, cows, tethered down in government house, preparatory to jollophing and pepper souping an overnight party in government house? What I asked you about the mood. Tell us.
Yes, Dr. Abati, that is not unlikely, especially the hurdles that the governor and those who are sympathetic to him needed to cross before getting to today. Yesterday, as at Friday evening, what we heard in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital, was that Rivers State is going to go up in flames. In flames because those at the other side of the divide were threatening fire and brimstone. Remember that on Friday morning, a detachment of rogue policemen wanted to take over the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission office, that is RISIEC, but that was foiled by an information that the first citizen of this state, I should say, Governor Sim Fubara, got in the late hours of Friday morning, and so he intercepted. Having rebuffed that, there was still threats left, right, and center that the elections were going to hold. Just yesterday at about past 10, when the elections were ongoing, the two factions of the APC and PDP took to the street with a mammoth crowd. Dr. Abati, I'm here to fathom where that mammoth crowd came from all of a sudden. That is the truth, because I saw that mammoth crowd with my own eyes, and I was wondering if people are voting, where did this come from? But that is a story for another day. That mammoth crowd stormed resale copies. And what was the message of the two opposition parties, that is sympathetic to the immediate past governor and FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, and the APC sympathetic to, what's it called, the national leadership of the party? Was a part that an election was not going on, that was their position. And so, there is this, yes, sir.
As we begin to wrap up, now you have talked about policemen, laying siege to the various secretariats. Now, do you also expect that there will be a lot of litigation coming from the direction of those who protested that this election must not hold? Briefly, as we have to go now.
I see that coming, Dr. Abati, because, politics, I kept using the expression, the brand of politics played here in Rivers State. I don't see the opposition, I don't see the other side of the divide backing down at this level. They are still going to push their luck. So in the next couple of days and weeks, there's going to be an avalanche of litigation. What that means is legal fireworks will start from here, and at the end of the day, we will know who wins. Whether Fubara will win again just like he won yesterday, or the people who are opposed to this local government, this election that held yesterday will be the one to win. But at the end of it, what I can tell you in conclusion is that Rivers people have gone on with their lives. They said they want local government administration to run because it is closer to the people, where you have the good chunk of the electorate. When two elephants fight,
okay,
Dr.
thank you very much, Omano.
It is the grass that suffers.
Thank you, Omano. Let me allow you
want to go through that.
Let me allow you and your crew to go and observe the victory party. Well, in these things, they don't always invite journalists to the party when there is jollof rice and pepper soup on the table. But quickly, in 1 second each, as we close the program.
It'll be interesting to see. I think the role of the police has been clearly stated, that they did not follow the law, but it'll be interesting to see from litigation to implementation.
Thank you.
And I hope the police will investigate the bomb blast and the gunshots and the fact that the stakeholders has promised to put fire in some PDP states. We need peace in Nigeria.
Thank you, Mr. Ologun. Thank you very much, Yemi Adamolekun. You've been watching This Day Live, the Sunday talk show, here on Arise News. I'm Ruben Abati. For my entire team here in Lagos, it's bye for now, and thank you very much for watching.